Hello and welcome to episode 211 of the Money to the Masses podcast with your resident expert, as always, Damien Fay and me, Andy Leaks. Damien, I'm going to ask how you're doing, but I think I already know.
Terribly. Now, you can probably hear from my voice that I've got a stinking cold, but I've got something special for everybody this week. So when I was doing the midweek markets podcast, Andy did a brilliant job of editing out all my sniffles, coughs and splutters. And it must have been terrible for Andy to listen to. But the show must go on, but we got something really good. But before I do that, I do want to say a quick word about our sponsor in a very croaky voice, Fidelity International. Now, Fidelity are one of the biggest fund providers and fund supermarkets in the world. And I actually run my own 50k portfolio with 80/20 investor on Fidelity International. Now, as you probably know, they offer various different levels of guidance, from fund lists to suggestions, even to routes in which you can get suggestions for your ISA, and even Tom Stevenson, who is their investment expert, who you often see in the newspaper and press talking about investing. He comes up with some ideas. But I also wanted to quickly mention that they are running a competition for this year's ISA season, whereby whatever you invest in your ISA allowance this year, you can win back instantly in the form of cash back into your bank account. So if you invest £20,000 into a Fidelity ISA and you win the competition, then you'll get £20,000 back. I suppose you can't say fairer than that.
Excellent stuff. So this is a kind of a special podcast in many ways, and you're going to explain why.
Yeah, because you're going to hear somebody you're going to think is me. And I don't know if you know, some of you may have heard me talk about it or seen stuff on Instagram, but I have a twin, and his name is Justin, and he is one of the other people, one of the brains behind Money to the Masses. So Money to the Masses is a team, as you know. There's Andy, but there's others behind the scenes, such as Lauren, and obviously, very importantly, Justin. Now, this week is always going to be a show where we were going to talk about the Money MOT, and we're going to focus on it and explain what it does, how it works, how it came to be, and actually the future of the MOT and how it's going to evolve, but also why it's so brilliant. But of course, with me sounding like I do and trying not to sniff and cough, Justin is the brains behind this and how it was developed. So what we're going to do is Justin's going to talk through this. He's going to give you a bit of a behind the curtains view about how the Money to the Masses MOT, well, Damien's Money MOT works, and what we're going to do going forward. So for now, I'm going to hand over to Andy, who's going to basically take control of the show, and this is going to be a special that's worth listening to.
So here we are with the power of editing. We're here with Justin from Money to the Masses. Now, we have mentioned Justin in the past in the podcast, but we probably haven't gone into a lot of depth into what you do and what your job is at Money to the Masses. So I think that's a good place to start. Justin, welcome to the show, by the way.
I'm ecstatic. Thank you for having me. It's the first and probably only time I'll be allowed on this podcast, which is a good thing for everyone. And apologies if I'm freaking anybody out because I sound similar apparently to Damien. And I also apologise if I refer to him as Damo, because after 40 years I probably am going to do that.
You mentioned about you two sounding similar, by the way. Do you feel like you sound very different? Because your voice in your head is very different to how you sound.
Massively. I think I sound completely different, but...
Better, of course.
Better, of course. But when I listen to the podcast is quite a weird experience, because it sounds like me doing a podcast and I know it's not. So yeah, when we do calls, if we're doing calls with work, we both have to announce ourselves. It's Justin talking, it's Damien talking. Yeah. And even if I pick up the phone in the car when we're out driving about, I have to announce to his wife it's me talking and not Damien. So it is pretty weird for some people, and even stranger for me, I can tell you.
So I think it's about time you told the listeners what it is that you do in the background and what your key responsibilities and jobs and roles are at Money to the Masses.
Yes, it's very different from what Damien does. My background isn't in finance, so I'll be the first to say that I don't know a lot about finance, personal finance. It's not my forte. What I do is product development, digital marketing, media. And it's a lot of the back end, the boring stuff that no one sees that actually makes the sexy stuff you do see. So that's kind of a lot of what I do here at Money to the Masses, and just generally anything else that, from a website perspective, that we just need to make it work.
So as you say, Damien's very much the face of Money to the Masses, and perhaps you would like to say that you were the brains. And so when we talk about Money MOT, you've had a lot to do with that, and the product itself and the development.
Yeah, probably just to start from the very beginning, it really came about last summer. Me and Damien were in the office. We were kind of talking through about some of the challenges we've got. One of the challenges we have with Money to the Masses is that people don't always know what they should be reading, or they don't always find the things they want to be reading. And to be honest, he gets so many emails every day that realistically people want a little piece of Damien. So they want to be able to go find out what he thinks about a topic, maybe have a look at their finances and give them some help in terms of what information they should be looking at or prioritising. And I'm fortunate, I'm in the office. So whenever I have a money problem, I just shout across at Damien and he kind of helps me out. And we don't have that with Money to the Masses. So what we did was we sat down and I said to Damien, if we could do something which was some kind of tool or some kind of service where people could get a bit of your time for you just to cast your eye over what they're doing and the things that they might need to concentrate on, prioritise, what would that be? And I mean, 5 years ago, the 30-Day Money Plan was an excellent book and it kind of encapsulated that. But in today's age of books, we've kind of moved on a little bit and we wanted something that people could do in an ad break. So I set Damien a challenge and said, what would that be? And I can't remember the date, it was in May, I've got the picture. Damien kind of set about on a whiteboard, drawing, this is what I would do if someone asked me about their finances and told me these few things. These are the concepts that I would try and walk them through. That was really the birth of Money MOT, the idea of what we could do. And then fast forward 5 months to this is what we've got now.
And so that's great. It came from an idea and a vision, and then you come up with something. But in anything, you need to sort of, you've come up with the concept and the idea, but you've then got to find some experts that can build the blooming thing. So I imagine it wasn't just you and Damien that managed to produce this.
No, it wasn't. I mean, in reality, it took probably 20 different people from 3 different companies. And what we did is we sat down and said, Damien said, realistically, I want to be able to, if people answer a few questions, I should be able to direct them towards the content that they need to find the information that they would really want to prioritise and the stuff that they need to kind of look at going forward. And we felt that was just something that we could do. So we sat down, Damien came up with his idea on the whiteboard. We then looked at it and said, well, what does that look like? And my background is a lot in product development. And so I started to sketch around some ideas. We went and saw Paul, the designer, who kind of did the logo of Money to the Masses. He helped us kind of take the idea a little bit further forward. What does it look like? And then we started to sketch out the actual process of what is it, what questions do people want to know, what are the outcomes that people are looking for, and that was really the beginning of product development for the Money MOT. So once we got the concept of Money MOT sorted, it was really about trying to make a product something that people actually could use and that they wanted, something that they could realistically do in an ad break. I'm the same as everybody else. I've got better things to do of an evening, like watch Netflix or whatever it might be. And the idea was we wanted to give them something that they could do in an ad break in 2 minutes that doesn't take a lot of thought, but actually would give them an outcome that they would kind of help them along for the next couple of weeks, days, and help them improve their situation incrementally. So realistically, that's quite a challenge for us to do and to build that and to build something that can actually give a lot of outcomes to a lot of different people. Because with the MOT, everybody gets a different outcome. And one of the things we didn't want to do was to build or say we were going to build something that turned out to be something very similar to what a lot of people do, which is a generic piece of information, a generic service. And just this week, I saw a press release for a service that was done by, I think it was the Pension Advisory Board, that kind of said, a midlife MOT. And actually all it was a page of links. There's nothing in that that's actually helping anybody listening to this podcast. So we wanted something that actually, whilst you listen to the podcast, you could jump on a link. You could quickly do an MOT. 2 minutes later, you get a grade. From that, you can suddenly go, oh, actually, I might need to look at my IHT. I might need to look at my bills. But you don't want to take action maybe that second, but you do want help to take action. And above all, we want to get you from beginning to end in 2 minutes and then ultimately take you to a point where you had the information to be able to take action. And that's the biggest change in what we do, is helping people take action from the information that we give them.
Great stuff. So let's drill down a little bit more into the MOT itself. We've talked about the development, the idea. We haven't really gone into specifics about what the money MOT is and what it's going to do, especially for our listeners. So really what I would love for the listeners to be able to take from this is to be able to understand that it's something that they all could do in a couple of minutes and what they'll get from it. What is it our listeners will get from it when they do it?
So the MOT, in a nutshell, while you're listening to this, grab your phone, go to moneymot.moneytothemasses.com and you'll see the homepage come up, and it basically has a big button that says get started.
There's a picture of Damien too.
There's a picture of Damien too. There's not a picture of me, there never will be, but there is a lovely picture of Damien sitting on the stool. And the reason for that, just so it's not really an egotistical thing, it's that this is about Damien's perception of how to help you with your money, and it's key for us to get that on there. But once you've gone there, you hit get started, what you'll do is you'll get a series of questions that they're generic, they're not anything, you don't have to go and get any paperwork, you don't have to do anything laborious. It's more about your situation in terms of, do you have certain parts of your finances sorted, have you reviewed, have you got life insurance? It's just sort of a dozen questions. What you get out the back end is you get a on-screen, kind of almost like a mini report. It gives you a grade.
Like an MOT?
Like an MOT. I mean, let's be honest, this has all come about, the concept was really when Damien said, do you know what I'd like is, I don't know anything about cars, and I take my car up the road to the garage and they sit there and say, it's not the best car, it's not a Ferrari, it has got things that might need a bit of work, but you're actually roadworthy. And Damien really wanted to get to a point where he said to people, actually, there is no perfection in money. Don't fret about those things, but the tool wants to say, but your finances are pretty roadworthy, but there are some things that you might want to look at. You go to take your car into the garage, they always tell you, you've got probably another 6 months on those brakes, or you've got a couple of millimetres on the tread. You're not going to die today, but you know that you might need to take a look at these things. And that's kind of really the essence of why it is an MOT. And the idea is that we would want people to go back and look at it regularly, because your finances you should do. And ultimately, if we could do that in 2 minutes, and that's what you get at the back end, and you've taken action, or you've even just said, well, do you know what, there might be something that I might need to do in the next couple of weeks, I think we might have got towards where we want it to be.
So in a couple of minutes, people could log on, get onto the Money MOT, and then what we're looking at there is we get a score at the end, is that right?
Yeah, so you get a score, you basically get a grade, so that you can go as high as A+, down to E. And what I really want to hit home about this grade is it's not you sit in a corner with a dunce hat on. The idea with this is, and we talked long and hard about whether you should be getting a grade or not, and Damien was very clear on that. What he really wanted people to do was to be able to see a relative idea. People understand grades in this country, and they understand the idea that actually a C, you're doing well, you're doing okay. A C grade is kind of that place where you want to be. You may be able to get to an A, you may not be able to quickly, but to be able to get a grade that you can sit there and say, right, this is where I am currently at, what should I be looking at? But I think for me and for Damien, the key part is the bits that come after that. So if you scroll down the results page, if you've just jumped on there, as I suggested, and done your MOT, when you scroll down, you get your 12 areas that we break your finances down into. So there'll be things like retirement planning, your inheritance tax, there are things like bills, personal protection, wills. And what we do is we give you a star rating out of 3. And the reason we do star ratings out of 3 is because it kind of gives you an idea of 1, you're okay, 2, there's a little bit room for improvement, and 3, you probably got it covered. And I'll tell you where that really came from. That came from someone that played Angry Birds on a train for many, 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 many commutes. I was obsessed with getting 3 stars. And you never got the best score even to get 3 stars, but you did it as good as you could. And I think what we wanted to do is just to say, right, overall, so I've done the MOT, to give you an example, I got a C. And when I go down, I could sit there and go, actually, my will was good, it was 3 stars. My bills were 1 star. And so it starts to put things into brackets of what I should be looking at.
What's really interesting about that as well, we're a similar age and we're in a similar point in our life. We've got a similar family situation. I got a B, you got a C. Your wills are okay. My will is terrible. I haven't done my will. And my bills are good. So it just goes to show that even though we're from a similar demographic, for all intents and purposes on a piece of paper, we may look the same, but we're very different. And this is what Money MOT will be picking out for people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what's interesting is what you picked up there is we're keen to everybody that does an MOT in theory, can get an A grade. Everybody can get an E grade. And I've heard people say it when I first showed them the concept. The first criticism, people will say, and I guarantee you, when Damien talks about it on Twitter, I can guarantee you it will be an IFA. And this is my opinion, by the way. I'm not going to tarnish Damien with any review I have of IFAs. I've never had an IFA. I've never used one. I can't see that I will. But I can see that people will go, oh, but only people that have lots of money will get an A. And that's nonsense. The way this is built is that it's relative to who you are. So if you are someone that doesn't have a huge amount of money, but you have all of your bills in place, you're regularly reviewing things, you've got all of your financial ducks in a row, all the things that you can do, you will get a good score. Just because you don't have an estate over the IHT threshold, that doesn't mean that you won't get a good IHT score, because actually you've got that button down because you don't have an IHT problem.
Yeah.
So that's where this comes into effect. And to give you an idea, we ran it through loads of different scenarios. We gave it to people that we knew were quite affluent. We gave it to people who we knew weren't. And we even give it to students and people that retired. And each of those people get a different score. But the people that were slightly more affluent, they actually didn't always do as well, because they didn't really look at the finer details of financial planning, like their bills, or maybe didn't have all aspects of their retirement plan in place. And that's really what the MOT is doing. And I can honestly say from the testing that I've done so far, I'm pretty chuffed with how it's come out and how diverse the grades are.
So we talk about getting a grade, getting a score. We talked about the different areas, and so what will happen then in the weeks that follow that? How will it actually break down? How will someone benefit from it?
So, I mean, in terms of the initial step is you'll get this for free. You don't have to register. You can see your score, you can see your breakdown, and you can, at the bottom, you can see how you compare to everybody else that's done the MOT prior to you. So if you can see what percentage you've got a C, if you're feeling chuffed because you got a B, you can see how many people got a B. The initial thing that you can do is you can register to get Damien's action plan. And what that is a series of emails that will look at the things that came up in your plan, and they will give you a bespoke email pointing you to key content and information you should know.
Again, that is key, that it's tailored to that individual person.
Yeah, and I think, and that was the biggest challenge, to be honest. So the first thing that before you start to receive those, if you register, you can go back to your results page. It will take you there. The first thing you can do, and you should do, is go down to all of those little stars in all of those areas, those 12 areas of your MOT, and click on them. And it will tell you the reason why you got a 1 star, a 2 star, or a 3 star. And you can then go, well, actually, that's why I thought I was going to get a 3 stars for my will. Well, actually, I've just got 2. That may be, and it may tell you that it's because actually since you did your will, you've got remarried. They may say, well, actually, you probably need to look at this because this has implications. That's the first thing it does. The next thing you'll do is you'll get an email from the MOT once you've registered, telling you about the emails you're going to receive going forward. And when you register, you can either select daily or weekly and tell us about a particular goal you have. All of this feeds into the back end, and this is the really painful, boring, unsexy bit that I do. The MOT takes that information and it then designs you a bespoke series of emails based on what came out in your results, but also, more importantly, on a priority that Damien believes in financial planning. And those of you that have looked and read his 30-day money plan may have a sense of what the types of things that Damien would prioritise. So, for example, you may have a number of things in your MOT that came up that you might need to look at, but if you've got a debt issue, I can guarantee you it's going to be one of the first things that you get talked to about in our series of emails, because you need to tackle that early on. So to go back to your question, what do you get? You get either over the days or the weeks that follow. So it would probably be a dozen emails potentially, but only the ones that are relevant to you. And each of those will talk to you about what your score was, why it was like that, and more importantly, the information you should be trying to engage with on our site, and say, go here, read this should help you. And at any point, once you've done that, you can go back, retake your test once you've taken action, and hopefully see that grade just nudge up incrementally. And if you've done it once and you do one action and you just nudge it up a little bit, I can tell you Damien's doing laps around the office, because if he thinks that you've just done one incremental change and he's improved one person, he's doing his job well.
Do you know what's great about this as well? Is because this brings us all back to where Damien started and why he started, crucially. Damien, I can talk about it now because he's not in the room. Damien started Money to the Masses because he was fed up of making rich people richer. He wanted to help the masses. And this is crucial to part of his crusade, if you like. This is what gets him up in the morning. This is what gets him excited.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with those of you that are on this podcast, some of you came to a meetup at the end of last year, and do you at a pub in the city. Damien was buzzing after that because he got to interact with people and he got to almost have a one-to-one relationship with each of his listeners. And I think in its own way, the MOT is him and us as a team trying to give everybody that little piece of Damien that says, actually, I may not always be able to get hold of him. I may not always be able to talk to him. But if I do this MOT, this is as good as Damien coming to me and sitting there looking at what my questions and going, right, this is the information you need to be looking at. And the way it's been built is it can service one person or 1 million. And if we could just get it out into more people's hands and get them to use it, I for one will be a happy person. I know you will, Andy, but I know that we're ticking a big box in terms of what Damien wants to achieve.
Great. So you as a listener, if you've paused this podcast and already done that Money MOT, please do get in touch with us here at Money to the Masses. Get in touch with Damien, tell him how good it was, but crucially as well, spread the word. Spread the word to your family and your friends, because we want people to be logging on and doing this. The one thing that I know Damien loves is the fact that this is a very gentle approach. It's an approach that is built so that people can make small changes to get that feeling. It's a bit like Damien always talks to me about losing weight. It's great because what you can do when you lose weight is you do it incrementally, and every week that you lose £1, you know you're that week closer to your overall goals. I think too many people in finance focus on the negatives, or they try and hit people with, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. This is a very positive, small step approach, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think anybody can get some kind of use from it. There'll be a benefit to anyone. I defy anyone to go through it and not come out of it and go, oh, well, actually, there is something there that maybe I should look at. And it's only been live. We did a soft launch this last week. And already this week, Damon's had emails from people who have thanked him about action that they've taken, or that they've now actually sat down and thought, this is something that I maybe need to review very soon. And that really is at the essence of it. And I think one thing I would say to listeners out there is feedback for us is crucial, because this is only the start of the MOT. The MOT phase one, as I'd like to think of it, is we can change it pretty quickly. So in the back end, we can start to say, well, actually, that we've got people here that felt that it didn't do enough for people who, give you an example, cohabiting, which is one that we were brought up this week. So already we're going to deliver out the back of the MOT content to people about cohabiting. For those people, it's very particular to. And we've had feedback, and I'd ask anyone that does it and felt that their situation wasn't covered, they didn't feel that gave them the right outcome, or there was something missing, write into us, because I'm sure that within weeks we can change it for the better, and it will get better and better. Where it goes from here, I think I'd like to think that the users of it will help us decide.
Good stuff. So that's the MOT, what it does, and it's been great to hear Justin on the pod. And I tell you what, as a special treat for the listeners, we're going to bring Justin and Damien in the same room talking at the same time. And so the next two voices you'll hear will be Justin and Damien.
Okay, so right, I'm back in the room now. As you can tell, this is Damien with his cold. I don't know what these two characters have been talking about for the last 30 minutes, but it's safe to say they've been talking about what the MOT is done, and Justin was very integral to all of that and about the building of it. So I hope he'd done himself, or he didn't do himself a disservice by underplaying it. But I think it's turned out how we wanted it to, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm pleased with it. And just for those that are listening, obviously you can't see us. This is Justin and not Damien again. I'm pleased how it's turned out. I'm pleased by the feedback we've had. I can't see anything else out there at the moment that is as good as it, and I can say that. I don't mind saying that. I think it's good. I think it's excellent. I think we've encapsulated a lot of what Money to the Masses is about, and I can see from what the feedback that we get, and what you can't see is I can see how excited Damien gets. And when Damien gets excited, it's good for Money to the Masses, because he
not in a weird way.
Yeah, not in a weird way. We're not that close. So he does some of his best work that way, and I think it's important that as we go forward, we just keep pushing the boundaries and try and deliver new stuff and trying to get things to people that they will use. And the one thing we don't have on Money to the Masses until now was something that we could go and try this. It's take you 2 minutes. And I think we now probably got that.
Yeah. I don't know if the guys picked up one of the things. There's multiple things we're trying to do with the MOT, but one of the biggest issues you have in the UK is that people don't know when they need financial advice. And so this isn't about saying to people that never using their financial advisor. I know Justin doesn't like them. I'm slightly indifferent. But what we've got is that at the end of it, we'll help people to decide and work out if they do need to seek financial advice. That's the other issue that no one else tackles in the UK. What we have are financial advisors who tell you we are the guardians of your finances. You've got to seek advice, which is complete nonsense because they want to do that because they earn money from you. And on the other side, we have journalists who sit there and say they're all charlatans and crooks. They're going to steal your money, but then the journalists never help you. So the MOT and what we do at Money to the Masses is all about that middle ground. And the MOT is, if you distilled everything that's happened in 9 years, it would be the Money MOT. And the reason I want you guys to talk about it is share it. And we're going to start talking in the future about how you can do it even more and ways to do that. But please do it on social media and share it because, believe it or not, the mainstream media might not necessarily talk about it as much as they could do, because if more people come along and do the Money MOT, they'll start to realise, why do I need to read the money pages over there when they don't help me? And that is a genuine issue with mainstream media. It isn't just about IFAs and people having self-interest. Mainstream media does have its own interest. So that's why we're pushing more with social media so we can control all that. And that's it. Thank you for coming on the show this week, Justin, and holding the fort.
It's been a pleasure.
And you can contact me at Damien@moneytothemasses.com in the usual way, Andy at moneytothemasses.com, and why not email Justin at justin@moneytothemasses.com. You can see a pattern with our email addresses, but email him, give any feedback. If something doesn't work or you'd like to change on the Money MOT, then it's his problem. So until next week.
Don't forget to claim your free copy of Damien's best-selling book, The 30-Day Money Plan. Sort your finances in just 5 minutes a day, worth $4.99. Just go to moneytothemasses.com/podcast to find out how.